How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Now in this video I wanted to create sort of a comprehensive guide, if you will, for those looking to do motion capture inside Unreal Engine. So I'm going to include lots of things, kind of like what motion capture suit I'm using, how to use motion capture suit. We're going to talk about facial motion capture. We're going to talk about all sorts of things, including the technical parts inside Unreal Engine. And so this video should be, whether you are wanting to do motion capture, this video should be good for you. Or if you already have a motion capture suit and you want to know where to get started with Unreal Engine, then this video should be useful for you as well. Now, before we get started, as usual, there's a Twitter. Leave a like and leave a comment for the YouTube algorithm. It always goes a long way. Thanks a lot to everybody giving to the Patreon. Now, first things first, how do I achieve this Metahuman that you're looking right now? He was created with Mesh to Metahuman, which is a new tool that showed up for Unreal Engine right now. And I do have a video on how I got this guy. Actually, I have a video on how I got sort of this head. And the rest of the body is also in the how to scan the head video, how to put yourself with a Metahuman inside Unreal Engine. So watch those videos if you want to get something like this, and then just jump back into this one. Now, motion capture. Why would you want a motion capture suit? It is a really expensive thing to buy. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't cheap for me living in the US. I can't even imagine what this looks like for somebody living outside of the USA, but it is well worth it, and I'm going to get into why. Whether you are an indie developer looking to make a game, or whether you're wanting to do film stuff like I am. Now, I've been trying to do things with marketplace animations for a while now, and they're great. There are great ways for you to make those animations work, but the problem is it can only get you so far. There are times where you are the one that has to go in and animate, which takes a lot of time. If you want to get something more casual, or if you just want to have something that is not in the marketplace. One of the things that you will see in my videos is actually how to use animations from the marketplace. And the reason for that is because I have not stopped using animations from the marketplace, even though I have a suit. There are certain things that I just can't do, like just jump, roll around. I'm not that agile. I'm not a stuntman or anything like that. So getting a motion capture suit doesn't mean you're probably going to stop doing that. You're most likely going to be still buying animations from the marketplace. However, when it comes to mundane things, talking and all that, it's just much easier if you have a motion capture suit. And to be honest, the best way that I can put this when it comes to using a motion capture suit is you don't know that you need it until you have it. And I know that sounds nebulous and that probably makes no sense, but that's just how it felt for me. I spent around probably over 6 months pondering over this, trying to see, researching which kind of motion capture suit I was going to get and whether I was going to get one or not. I actually attempted to make a short film without getting a motion capture system, and it was just horrible. The experience was terrible. Can it be done? Yes, probably. If you have a team of animators, or if you're an animator yourself, you probably can do it. But I'm just a 3D artist and I have a day job, so I can only go so far until my videos start taking an eternity. That's one of the reasons why I jumped in and I forked in the cash to get this motion capture suit that I am using today. All right, so another thing is, why would you want to use a 3D animation setup? Let's say you're an indie filmmaker. Why would you want to use a 3D animation setup, invest in a motion capture suit instead of just getting a camera and go out and shoot? Well, in my case, I am a solo developer, but I want to do things with sci-fi. I want to do things on a pirate ship. I want to do things in medieval times. I want to do lots of things that require a lot of VFX and will probably require a huge team and a lot of money to make. So that's why I'm staying in the 3D animation realm, because Unreal provides all that for me. I have everything here. I have all the assets. I have Megascans. I have these guys where I can pretty much do any character that I want. And since I used to do characters, that's also something that's easy for me, is just to make a character in ZBrush, then turn it into Blender, do retopo, bring it into one of these guys, rig it, and there you go. So that's one of the reasons why I went into 3D animation. Yeah, you can buy a camera for cheaper than what I bought this suit, but what about the VFX? If you're just interested in doing drama and comedy and all that type of stuff with like things that exist, that's probably really easy to do. But in my case, I want, and the issue is nowadays, it's very trendy to hate on CGI for some reason. I don't understand that. People seem to think that the films that are practical are much better than the films that have CGI in it. That's just not true. Most of the films nowadays have CGI, even if you don't know it. So to get away from that, that's why I wanted to jump into 3D animation. And I think Unreal Engine provides a lot of tools for indie developers, for all of us to just do this. All right, now let's get into the suits. I do have an in-depth discussion as to why I chose this suit. Link in the description, by the way. But I'm just gonna go into some of that real quick here in this video. Now, there are 3 brands. Hopefully they're over here when I'm editing the video. There are 3 brands that I researched when I was doing all my investigation on what kind of motion capture suit I wanted to get. And these are Rococo, Xsense, and Perception Neuron, not necessarily in that order, but there are a couple of things why I didn't choose the other brands. By the way, I'm not sponsored. Nothing that you'll see me doing here with the motion capture or the LiveLink Face app, so far up until this day, I'm not sponsored. So everything that I'm telling you right now and everything that I'm showcasing came from my own pocket. Nobody's paying me to say any of this. So Rococo, I didn't choose Rococo because their only solution is a full-on suit. And what if I want to pass it to my wife to help me out with a shoot? Or if I want to pass it to a friend that is not necessarily my size, then I would actually need more than one suit. And that's just most expensive for me, which not going to go there. So the other was Xsense. Xsense is the one that's regarded as the highest quality in the industry right now. And yeah, it is very high quality. I've actually worked with people that use this. I've talked to some YouTubers that use Xsense, and it seems like a great setup. One of the things that dissuaded me from it, I must say the price a little bit. The price difference is not so big from Perception Neuron, but they do have a subscription system, which I'm not very happy with. I don't like subscription system for hardware stuff. And yeah, you can do the monthly thing, and if you do it monthly, it's not that expensive. So as of the recording of this video, you would need to subscribe and to pay a subscription in order to do what I'm doing today. And I was just not happy with that. So that's why I discarded that option completely. And then I came into Perception Neuron. I actually also talked to YouTubers that really like Perception Neuron. And that's when I jumped in and said, well, I'm going to get Perception Neuron 3, which is like their entry level suit, I guess, because they also have a suit that it's a tier upwards from the one that I'm wearing, which is called the Perception Studio. But Perception Neuron 3 pretty much has many of the things that I would need. I got this. This was about $3,600 with shipping, and I also included the sensors for the fingers, which come separately. But the great thing about this is you don't have to pay any subscription. They do update fairly often to their software. Actually, right now I'm driving one of their latest updates to their software, which actually allows me to get into Metahuman right away without having to do any remapping or anything weird inside the software or inside Unreal Engine. I can just select the Metahuman, choose the Metahuman preset in the software, and here I am. And as you can see, everything is awesome. If you've seen videos from other people using Perception Neuron, those are probably all videos, because as you can see, there used to be an issue with the fingers. There's no longer that issue with the thumb and the Metahumans. You don't have to do the T-pose thing again. Everything just works. Now, if you're wondering about my facial motion capture setup, I'm using LiveLink Face app, which is the application that you use with iOS. I find it very, very good, and as you can see, I have very good range of motion with this character. I am emoting a little bit more than I would do if I was talking normally, but I believe it produced really good results as it is. All I do is fire the app, connect it to Unreal, and that's it. We're gonna get more in depth into how to use LiveLink Face app, some tips that I would recommend to get some nice facial motion capture in a separate video. Now, we're gonna get into the technical part on how to use Unreal with motion capture. There is a thing that's very important that you need to get very familiar with, which is called the anim blueprint. So this is one thing that I'm going to show you how to create. If you use a motion capture suite, you're going to be dealing with these a lot. So you're going to be very familiar with it. And whichever motion capture suite you decide to get, you should be able to follow along, because all I'm going to do in this video is related to Unreal Engine. I'll do a separate video in the future on Perception Neuron, specifically their software and how to do some configurations so you get some cool motion capture like I'm doing right now. But other than that, you should be able to jump into this whatever motion capture suite you're using. All right, so let's get into the animation blueprint. Now, I know I said we're gonna go into blueprints, but before that, we actually need to activate a plugin before we actually get into the animation blueprint. And that's going to depend on whatever suite you have, whether you have Rococo, Xsense, Perception Neuron. You always have to activate a plugin first that's going to allow for the transfer of data from the software that's doing the capturing to Unreal. So usually for that, you just go to settings, plugins. In my case, I'm using Perception Neuron, so I just type Neuron. And here it is. I just need to activate it. Same thing goes with Xsense. I believe there is called NVN. And I don't know the one for Rococo, but I'm sure they have one. Every motion capture solution will include a plugin, hopefully, for Unreal Engine 5 that will allow you to transfer data. As far as I know, most of those brands do it nowadays. So after you are done with that, then you need to locate your character. In this case, let's try with the Metahuman. So I already have the Metahuman that you saw in the intro is right here. And all we have to do is figure out where the skeleton of the body is. Because in the case of the Metahuman, and we're going to look at any blueprints for other characters in a bit, but with Metahumans, you already have the facial part done for you, so you don't have to do the facial part. All we have to focus on is the body. So we need to look for the skeleton of the body, which is, here's the skeletal mesh. I'm just going to go where it's located, double click it, and just go to the skeleton. And as you can see, mine has this. I don't know why this is going on, but it works just fine. Now, if I go back to where the skeleton is located, here is the skeleton and here is my animation blueprint. Now, what is the animation blueprint? This is an asset that's going to tell the engine how to handle that capturing that's going on in the external software. So the way you do it is you right click on your skeleton. You could also right click here, create the animation blueprint from the animation tab, and then go after that. I just think it's much easier, especially for beginners, if you just right click on top of the skeleton of your character, and then you go into create, and then you go into animation blueprint. All right, so there's my animation blueprint. I'm gonna call it tutorial anim BP. Okay, and usually you'll see an icon, the skeleton that you were using here. Now, once we're done, we double click so we can go into the blueprint, and as you can see, your character should be here on this screen, and we have this output node. If you've seen my other tutorials, this may look familiar. It kind of looks like the material editor. If you've done programming, then of course you know what this is. But this is the output node where all the things are going to get transmitted to. So what we need is the LiveLink node, which is pretty much what's going to be linking the software with this blueprint and then with our character. So we just right click, go to LiveLink, pose, it's always LiveLink pose, And here you go. So in this little box, you have a couple of options. Over here, you have retarget asset. This is very important for depending on what motion capture suit you're using. After you've enabled the plugin, if you click on this drop down menu, you should see the remap asset for your motion capture suit. In the case of Perception Neuron, there are several here, and they recommend use the mannequin. So that's the usual one that I would use. Now, in that case, I will leave it there. There's one extra step that I know you have to do with Accents, but other than that, it's very similar. All you have to do is connect it, and then you're pretty much done. So for a demo here, I'm going to be using these two characters that come with Perception Neuron. This is just one of their examples, and just to show you how it works. Now, once we've done this, we need to tell the engine, hey, go into the source, and the source is going to be, in my case, going to be Perception Neuron. That depends whatever motion capture suit you have, but you have to click here. If you don't have this tab like I do, all you have to do is go to Windows, Virtual Production, and click on Live Link. In this case, it has a check mark because that tab's already here. Now click Source and click on the brand that you're using. And over here, you should see either a port or some IP. In my case, I can see the IP. I just click OK. And as you can see, I have both of the characters that I have here on screen with their respective names. Now, all I have to do is go here and select which character I want the animation to happen. This is exactly the same from when I'm doing live motion capture, where I'm just wearing my suit, and it'll give me a character name, and all I have to do is click on the character name, then compile. And as you can see, he starts doing the motion from the software that you saw over here in this window. Now, I know you see that there's like overlapping meshes on him. This doesn't matter because the final product is not going to look like this. It's been doing this for some reason, the last few tests that I've done, but when I go to the actual Metahuman in my viewport, it's not gonna look like this, so don't worry about that. Now, we have set up the animation blueprint for our body. Now, the face, in case of the Metahumans, it already has an animation blueprint, and you don't have to mess around with that. Right, now that you have your blueprint ready over here, all you have to do is go to your Metahuman. In this case, is this one right here. Drop it into your viewport, wherever you want. And now once I'm here, I go into my Metahuman. You just go to your body, and over here, would you see the animation tab? Under here is the animation mode, and you're going to change this to, instead of using animation asset, you're going to change it to use animation blueprint. Now, when you do that, you have to specify where the blueprint is or which name it is. In that case, we're going to pick the one that we just created, which is this one right here, tutorial and MVP. And you know it's an animation blueprint because it has these two little characters running forward. So I'm just going to click here, and you see that he adopts the pose, but he is not animating even though these characters are moving. And the reason for that is because he's not going to be animating in the viewport unless you have the live link component. In this case, if you want to leave it at here, you can just press play, or in my case, I'm just going to simulate. And you see that he is doing the animation just fine and everything is working. Now, if you don't want to do it during simulate, because I don't simulate or play the game, what I do is I add a live link component. So click on add, look for live link skeletal animation. You're going to use skeletal animation, not controller. You're going to use this one right here. And you're going to see that he goes live. If by any chance your Metahuman doesn't go live, then you can go into the live link component right here and click on auto activate. That usually does it if it doesn't go live instantly. But as you can see, the Metahuman is now doing the animation, and I don't have that weird mesh overlapping that you saw from the anim blueprint. That was just an example from the skeleton, but as you can see, my Metahuman here is behaving as expected. He's just moving just like the animation that I have here. And as you can see, it has the open palm. We got an animation going in our engine, but this isn't usable. we need a way to get this animation recorded into Unreal so you can use it later on. Unless you are actually doing it in 100% real time, which I have done, and you can do that. You can just start doing your motion capture and add the lighting component, and then just start capturing your body here. But for the best results, I found that it's better to just record it, and you can record it here this way, and after the fact, you can reuse it, and then you can just do cameras, you can do lighting, which again, it's still real time, but it allows another level of control. Now, for that purpose, we need to use Take Recorder. For Take Recorder, you just have to go here to Windows. Now, I already have it over here, but it's right here under Windows, Cinematics, Take Recorder, and you should get something that looks like this. Now, in order to capture our metahuman, there are a couple of ways that I found on how to do this. One way would be to go here to the source, because you need a source, and you can select from actor or you can select from live link. So if I go from live link, right now he's doing the motion of the character named Gao, and just click here. And you have to make sure that used source timecode is unchecked. This was something that Feeding Wolf showcased on how to do Take Recorder before. I learned this from her. Very good channel about motion capture, by the way. Now, once you do that, all you have to do is get out of there. Everything is fine. And give this your name. So we're going to call it test tutorial. And we're going to call it take number 1. And we're just going to hit record. Now, when it hits records, it waits 30 seconds and then starts recording the motion, and you can just let it be all the way until you are satisfied or you're done with recording your animation. I'm just going to call it there. And if you click on browse to, now you're going to see that it created a cinematic folder for you. I'm just going to stop him doing that for a second. And over here, you have a couple of files. Now you have this sequence right here, and you also have some subscenes right here. This is the one you want to use. Now you can just double click the sequence. And after you have opened your sequence, if you have your metahuman here in the viewport, it will immediately inherit what the sequence is doing. Because once I go outside of the sequence, you see that he goes back to his neutral pose. But once you go into the sequence, he just starts doing that. Now, one of the ways that I would do things, and actually that was the way that I did the intro, was from this, I just add a camera and start recording, because what you can do is click on this lock pad over here. If you click, now you can add things to it. So let's say we want to add a camera that's around here. There you go. Let's say we want to add a camera here. We click on the camera. And we focus our camera wherever we want to have it. Go here, it's a little bit out of focus. Let's just fix all that. Focus settings, let's do this. Let's get our plane. There you go, and all this, it's in my tutorial on how to intro to Unreal Engine for beginner filmmakers, if you want to look at that playlist. But I just did a quick camera with the focus. You can add it here. All you have to do is just add your camera and play. And if you want, you can just go into movie render queue and render things from this, and you're done. You got your sequence with your metahuman, and it was that easy. All right, now that is one way to record things. The second way that I know how to record things with Take Recorder takes a little bit longer to process, but it's easier to use if you are doing face and body at the same time. What I mean is, this one will record a separate take for whatever you tell it to record. In this case, the source was our motion capture suit, but the source from the facial motion capture would come separate from the body motion capture. So you pretty much have two sources, and then you have to put it together later. The other way that you can do things here is if we can delete this, and we do it per actor, not per source. Now, if we do it from actor, because I have him selected, you can click here, add this guy, And then what we can do is we can actually click on him, make sure he is using the anim blueprint, and make sure the anim blueprint is going. There you go. Now he's using the anim blueprint. We're going to start the take recording. I'm going to click here. And 3, 2, 1. There you go. It's going to start recording. Now let's just record a little bit and we are done. Now this one actually took a little bit longer than the other one because it's processing the whole actor as opposed to just process the source, which I'm assuming it's much cheaper for the system. It can take a while, so don't be scared. It's not crashing. For me, it actually took like 10 minutes because I did a take that was over 15 minutes long. So it's not that bad, but just so you know, that may happen. So let me just pause him so you can see he's really distracting. Now, the way that that's going to look is if we go into cinematics, our text for today, and go number 2, we go into animation, you're going to see that instead of a sequence, you do have an animation. Now, if I go here, you're going to see that it is my default skeleton. So again, don't mind these weird parts that are going on here, but he is doing the animation. So what this does is it will give you an animation just like the animations that you get from the marketplace. So it would be an instant thing that you can use into a brand new sequence that you create yourself. Now, I do have an example where I recorded body and face at the same time, which is one of the things that I use for the intro, and it's right here. So right here we have the body. As you can see, they're turning things off, and it's a very long animation. I'm right there, but you can see that he's moving, but his face is not moving. That's because even though it records it as one single actor, it does it separately because it's 2 separate animation blueprints. However, if I go here to the next one, you're gonna see that my face is actually moving because this is what recorded from the animation blueprint. And what you can see is in this case, I already have my animations and I can toss them directly into Sequencer and be done with that. The way that I would do things right now is I would grab him. Let's say I'm going to use the second way that I just showed you. Let's just create a sequence, add a level sequence. Let's call it tutorial test. And let's add him to the sequence over here. Now for this to work, we need to get rid of control rig. So we delete the body control rig and we delete the facial control board. There you go. So he is still using, for the body, he's still using the animation blueprint. We don't want him to keep using the animation blueprint. I'm actually going to switch that to animation asset. And you can see he adopts a neutral pose. Now we want him to use this animation that just happened. So I'm just gonna go and make it easy for me. Copy this name, Control C, go to body. And remember, I'm in body, not in the first one. I'm in the body track. Go to animation. I'm going to paste that here. And there you go, my first scene. And there is my animation. And here's my animation where I do all that. And if I wanted to add the face, I can just go here, click on this one, Control C, go over here, track, animation, click here, paste it, grab my animation, make sure that everything is lined up. And as you can see, he is moving and talking at the same time. So I got both things here in Sequencer, very easy to handle. The only caveat is that if you're doing really long takes like I'm doing, it may take a while to process once you've stopped the recording, and it kind of looks like it's gonna crash, but it's not gonna crash. So if you're patient, you can use it this way. Okay, we're gonna start now with the facial part, and you're gonna be able to do this if you have an iPhone, because we're going to use the LiveLink Face app. I've done this with Faceware in the past for Unreal Engine 4, but in here on Unreal Engine 5, I've been using LiveLink Face app. It works wonderfully. And even though I'm not an iPhone user, that iPhone for that sole purpose was a great investment because it completes my setup. So let's talk about facial motion capture. because we are here in Unreal Engine 5, you should have the ARKit plugin already enabled by default. But in case you don't, just go to the plugin section and we're going to type ARKit. And these two should be checked. Same thing with, if we go to live link, you can see that this one's checked, this one's also checked. Like I said, they're usually checked by default, but in case you don't see all the things that I'm going to show you, then this will be the first place to look to see if the plugin is actually enabled. Now, when it comes to our Metahuman that's on screen right now, if I were to scroll over here, you see it says default, and under default, you can see it says live link face subject. In here, I can actually select my iPhone if I have it up. Actually, let me turn on open live link face app so you can see how that looks. So if I open live link face app, now over here in my live link tab, now you can see that instantly as soon as I fire the app on my iPhone, it is reflected right here with my iPhone name. The other thing that you need to take into account in case this isn't working for you, make sure your iPhone is on your Wi-Fi and it's on the same Wi-Fi of your computer. In my case, I have two Wi-Fis at home and I need to make sure that they're always in the same Wi-Fi. So again, if you run into trouble, this would be one of the things to check for. Now that I have my iPhone over here, and as you can see, it turned yellow because I turned off the app. I usually don't, if I'm not actually recording, I don't have my phone on because this tends to get hot, which nothing happens if it gets hot. It's just instead of recording at 60 frames per second, it records at 30. Again, we're going to talk about that when we look at the tips for facial motion capture, but for now, these are just the basics. So if yours turns yellow, that means that you just turn off the app or your phone went offline or something like that. Now, what we need to do to enable this is we need to have the iPhone right here. However, if I just do my iPhone like that, my character still doesn't do anything. And the reason for that is because I need to do it at the animation blueprint first. So just like we have an animation blueprint for our body, we also have one for our face. The difference is the face one is already done for us in the case of the Metahumans. So I'm just going to go into the animation blueprint, double click this one. And as you can see, I already activated my app in this one, but just to show you where it is, it should be right here where it says, as soon as you get in, you should be greeted with this part of the window. And as you can see, he just keeps talking, which is really funny. But over here, you should just click here and locate your iPhone. It usually says iPhone black something as a default, but here it has my name. I just need to compile. And once I've compiled, then I'm all done to just start doing mocap. But again, it's not doing anything because I need to add the live link component. Otherwise I need to press play. So I just need to add the live link skeletal animation. And as you can see, he starts doing facial motion. And another thing that you can do if you want to have something for the head, there's also live link face head. If you click here and you move your head, although it's not doing anything. If you also want to do head rotation, I usually have head rotation disabled just because I use the headband that comes with my motion capture suit. So I use the motion capturing from the head, so I don't have to do this. But if you don't have a suit, you can also include head rotation with the live link face app. So I just click here, and as you can see, there's a little bit of rotation that I can do with my head. This is, however, a little bit more limiting, and I don't think is as good as doing it with a motion capture suit. But in case that you just want to do a floating head for like an avatar, let's say you're streaming, doing something like that, then you can just do it this way. Get yourself a stylized Metahuman, open live link face, do head rotation, and then you have your character doing this. So I'm not gonna compile that because I'm not gonna use it, but all you have to do is compile and save like we've been doing so far. So we have looked at how to do body motion capture with a Metahuman, how to do facial motion capture with a Metahuman. Now I'm going to show you how to do it with a character that is not a Metahuman, because the Metahuman already has the facial animation blueprint made for us, so we only dedicate to the body. However, if we have another type of character that's not a metahuman, you're going to need to do the facial part yourself, and I'm going to show you that right now.
Huh? Hello, Hugh. Wait, it's just you. What are you doing here? We're not transmitting today.
I just need to use the setup real quick. I want to show the audience how to get the system that we're using for your transmissions.
Okay, nobody told me about this. Gary, did you know about this? Okay, apparently Gary did know about this and didn't pass the message.
Yeah, it's just going to be really quickly.
Well, I thought our arrangement was to be confidential with this, but I guess it's okay. You can show the humans how you help us transmit the news and all that. Yeah, go ahead. It just, remember to mention our channel too, so...
Alright, awesome.
Okay, bye humans.
Alright, so thanks Alien for letting us do this. And his channel is going to be in the description down below if you want to see some funny news and pop culture stuff. I think they just watched Thor and they're most likely going to do a review on it this week. Now, when it comes to any other character that's not a metahuman, like I said, we're going to have to do the blueprint ourselves. And I'm just going to take you to where this is because it's basically the same thing as what we just did, only one small difference. As you can see, I have two live link post nodes here. One is going to be for the body and one is going to be for the face. Now, the way that you put these two together is by using the apply additive node. So if you right click here, additive, you can see that one of the first things that comes up is apply additive. And this is going to be kind of like your multiply if you were doing a material, because it's just combining the two together in just one single output. There is one thing that you have to take into account here. Whenever you are using this, your body motion capture is going to be on the base and your facial motion capture is going to be on the additive. We're not going to do anything to the alpha, but those are the only two things that you have to take into account. Another thing that is really important, remember when we did body motion capture before in this video, we actually changed the retarget asset, in this case to the remap asset that Perception Neuron provides or whatever other motion capture suite you're using. When it comes to the facial part, you don't have to do that. You just put your iPhone in here and you should be good to go. You don't have to remap to anything else. Just combine it into additive. Then everything goes into the result. And you are just going to use one animation blueprint instead of using two. Now, another thing regarding custom characters, what I highly recommend is that they are rigged to the mannequin skeleton. Motion capture suits permit other types of skeleton. In my case, I have even used the Mixamo skeletons. However, what makes things a lot easier and very plug and play is using the mannequin skeleton. So if you're going to get a character and do the head swap like I've done in videos before, or you just want to get a character to motion capture as that character from the marketplace or even from CG Trader, other sources, I highly recommend that you get one rigged with the mannequin skeleton because it makes things so much easier. Especially if you're using Perception Neuron with the mannequin or the Metahuman, you can just jump in without having to do any other extra remapping. Thank you so much for watching the video. As always, a shout out to my level 2 patrons. Remember, if you give to the patrons, there are 2 levels you can participate in it. If you cannot do the Patreon, then leaving a like and leaving a comment helps a lot with the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't. There's the Twitter, there's the Discord, Instagram, all those kinds of things. And I'll see you in the next video.